What up, everybody? This is Cover to Cover. We are reviewing The Chosen, Season 1, Episode 5.
If you like what we're doing, like, share, and subscribe. We could use your support. It helps the algorithm. And with that, we'll get into the first clip.
All right, so in this first clip, Peter and Andrew have been chosen as disciples by Jesus.
Correct.
They are on their way to meet with him to go to a wedding.
They're still kind of in awe of the miracle that was performed down by the coast with the fish. And now they're, as new Christians have a lot of questions and concerns and excitement all at one time. It's kind of a roller coaster.
Well, there's such a it's such a freeing experience to know that you are where God wants you.
Yeah.
And I think they've finally reached that point because, just like they said, we've been praying about this our whole life. Anyways, let's watch the clip and then we'll talk about it.
Appreciate it. You heard me tell Eden how grateful I was.
Yeah, I heard your words, but I also watched your movements.
Don't know what to do with it. Don't go on long trips. I hold it like this. If I had a stick, I could sling it over to my shoulder.
We'll see what the others do.
What if they didn't pack lunch? Will we look stupid? What if it comes off as ungrateful?
I don't know. Maybe it would look like we never traveled with the Messiah before and we don't know what we're doing.
Facts.
I'm a bit nervous.
Come on, don't be nervous. If you're nervous, I'll come on too strong.
Don't tell me you're not nervous.
I said I was.
You said if I'm nervous.
I know what I said.
Brothers.
I don't want to let him down.
I don't want to do it wrong.
Come on. We'll probably both do it wrong. It's like fishing. Remember when Dad taught us?
Dad didn't teach us anything. We just sat there.
And watched. And then it was our turn and we made our own mistakes. Can you believe this?
Well, you guys are great.
Busted.
Oh.
Love this.
Have you been here long?
Oh, yeah. Perfect day for a wedding, huh?
That is awesome.
Yeah, so the excitement's obviously overwhelming them.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of unknowns. They have no clue what they're doing at this point. So they're just kind of going on this journey that could lead them anywhere.
Yeah.
But they know who they're following now. So it doesn't matter where they go. Anything's up for grabs. The world is their oyster, they say.
Yeah, I think it's so cool. Like when your purpose is worked out, it kind of sets everything else to the back. You know what I mean? It's kind of like at the forefront, and everything else just kind of works itself out to that end.
Yeah.
Like I really like that. I really like in this scene, he's like, they're starting to question everything, like, which is kind of what I know we did when we first got saved. You know what I mean? Like you do, because you're like, I don't want to get it wrong.
Well, they're brothers too, and you kind of see that the ribbing one another.
Yeah,
like that happens.
Yeah.
If you've got brothers, you understand.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think it's really cool. I really like this scene because it kind of, I could see this dialogue going down. Like, how do we do this? Like, where he was talking about the fishing, he was like, then when it was our turn to do it, and we kind of did it, and we made our own mistakes. And that's kind of true. Sometimes you just have to, by faith, I'm moving forward, and then continue.
You're never prepared enough.
Right.
That's why you keep your nose in the book.
And that's kind of the beauty of it as well. We're not good enough. That is the reality of it. We're not worthy, but God still loves you and still wants you to be a part of his life. He still wants you to a relationship.
Facts.
So like that's the whole beauty of the whole thing. Like he don't need you. He wants you.
So in the second clip, they're at a wedding, which was at the end of the first clip, where they're off on their journey. Well, they finally make it to the wedding, and the people who they have hired to handle the wedding preparations, which we do even today, they brought the wine. They had a wine giver. Well, they have now run into an issue. They thought there was going to be a certain number of guests. Now there's considerably more guests arriving that have partaken into the wedding ceremony. So their supply is awful low on refreshment. They did not confirm their reservations.
Yeah.
So instead of 40 people showing up for this wedding, now there's 80. So it's literally double the people.
Yeah.
And so if you've ever thrown a big party or even wedding reception or any of that, numbers matter.
Yeah.
And
How many times are you going to cut one sandwich?
yeah, I mean, how big the cake is. You need a cake enough to be able for everyone to have a piece of cake. That's the thought.
True.
And so they're running low on resources, food and wine. And back then, it was almost disgraceful, in a sense, for you to do that during your wedding ceremony. Well, Mary, Jesus' mother, friend of the family, possibly even a member of the family, maybe a distant relative, they've been invited to this wedding.
Oh, sons of
We
Jonah!
were just looking for you. Dancing to the song of Miriam, and we thought you wouldn't want to miss it.
Of course. Let's the three of us show them how it's done, huh?
I don't think that's such a good idea.
When he tries to dance, he looks like a donkey walking on hot coals.
Burn.
Oh, Andrew, do you deny it?
I've never seen a donkey walking on hot coals. Actually, that would be a terrible thing to behold.
My son,
Ah, Andrew, you see, even my own mother will join us in the Song of Miriam.
they've run out of wine.
But it's only the first day.
Yes, and it's all gone. Not a drop left.
Why are you telling me this?
We can't let the celebration end like this. And the Etcher's family humiliated.
Boys, go join the others. I'll be right there. Mother, my time has not yet come.
If not now, when? Please.
And so we
She
kind of
mamaed that stuff.
yeah. So she kind of, she threw a little bit of the.
Trickery.
No, it's not trickery. I think it's like they care about these people. Her mother was really close with the bride. I think the care for the mother was shining through, and if there was any way she could help, that's kind of a pure sense of sincerity. Like I'm trying to help you just to help you. Like we all know what happens after this. I thought it was a good portrayal of just when down to brass tacks, a mother conversating with their son. I know he was the Messiah and they recognized him as the Messiah, but a parent is a parent first. And that's when, if he gets missing, like he does when he's 12, she's worried because she's a parent first. It's not that he's the Messiah, he can take care of himself. It's I'm a parent. And I think that hits pretty realistically in this clip.
Yeah. Jesus obviously was the firstborn of their family. But he did have brothers and sisters. There's a thing like your other kids look at how you treat and interact with your oldest kid or the previous kids before them.
They're the example.
Right. So they're like, well, hey, you didn't do that with this, or hey, you did this with so-and-so. So it's like, I personally, this is just my personal opinion. This is not biblical, but I personally feel like, Jesus kind of had a reason and a purpose for being here, right? But he also was her son. And I believe he was respectful of that even though, hey, I am the Messiah and woman, my time has not yet come. And she's like, but please. She didn't say that in the Bible, but it goes on to say, he does it. I feel like if it wasn't his mama asking, I don't know if he would have.
Well, the Bible references honor thy father and mother.
Yeah.
This is giving. He's not honoring. He's doing both in this miracle.
Yeah.
He honors her wishes through the father. So I feel like it's really honest to goodness. It's really one of the more wholesome miracles that Jesus performs throughout his ministry. And biblically, it's also the first miracle.
Yes, that's true.
Which is kind of contrary to how the show timelined it out. I encourage you, go read it for yourself. It's a beautiful story.
It really is.
Like, the wedding story is one of my favorites in the Bible. So, and it's by a long shot.
Yeah, and if you're ever interested, I'm not going to get into all of it, but if you're ever interested, it is very, very interesting to find out about like traditional Jewish wedding in the Bible and the parallels between that and a relationship with God the Father and us. We know that they was Jewish, and we know that this is how they lived their lives, was by Jewish tradition. So it's really eye-opening. If you're ever curious just to dig into something, it's pretty cool.
And listen, we are not ordained ministers. We are not denominational. I view myself as a believer.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. I'm not here to preach to you, teach to you, any of that. We're reviewing the show based on reviewing the show. We're going to point out some good things. We're going to try and point out some bad things. And if we come across them, and kind of contrast that with biblical scripture, because that's what the show is about.
Yeah.
We're not trying to be hypercritical of the show or content.
We're trying to be as unbiased as possible.
As possible. Yes. Yeah. Strictly see it, take it for what it is, move on. We're not trying to be preachers to people or teach you anything about the Bible as far as our beliefs.
Although we will be doing both.
Although we probably will be doing both.
All right. In this next clip, we have got where, where before Jesus was talking to Peter and Andrew about Andrew having 4 left feet.
A donkey dancing on hot coals is what he said Andrew looked like, which is pretty hilarious if you imagine that. And now Jesus has performed the miracle. Everyone's having a great time. And now it is about moving forward.
Yeah.
And in the clip, we see Peter is ready to take those steps.
Yeah. Sure. Let's watch it.
Fish, wine. What will be next?
Any suggestions?
Anything and everything. Let's do this. I'll go with you to the ends of the earth.
I hope so, Simon. But I seem to remember there was a problem. Something about Andrew's feet.
Andrew's feet.
But first we must evaluate, no? No, I can't.
I think we have to.
No, I can't.
This is awesome.
Even I cannot do.
That got me. Sorry. Fucked me up a little bit there. That was so funny.
So the joy is like overflowing. Everyone's having a brilliant time at this festival now, at this wedding.
Yeah.
I wanted to address this because I can see where someone may misconstrue the humor for inappropriate. There are, like, I have a great sense of humor. He has a great sense of humor. We don't have to say that. We laugh at jokes.
Yeah, there is those people out there that I could see might get offended. But personally, I don't have a problem with it. Like, The Bible talks about the joy of the Lord being our strength. Talks about laughter doing us good like a medicine.
If you don't believe God has a sense of humor, look in the mirror.
Yeah.
I promise you, he has a great sense of humor. We are humorous by nature. Some people have more humor about them than other people. Some people don't play. Kicked out of school over recess because they don't play. I took it as a humorous comment. Other people may take that as a slight in the deity of Christ because he says, even some things I can't do.
The conversation kind of evolves at this point, I guess, from what the clip is to what we feel like Jesus is.
Well, in my opinion, Jesus was personable. We'll put it that way. He was a very personable kind of person.
I feel like he was.
And even though he was head and shoulders above everyone else, he wants to be personal to you. It's not just a meet and greet and bye, I'll see you later, or a wave and a smile. It's a, hey, let's be buddies, and let's hang out the character for me, as far as Jesus is concerned, is unquestionably personable like that. It's not there's no separation. He don't want any separation between you and him. He wants to be your best friend. Some people may look at this. Now, I'm not familiar with all religion in the world. Again, I don't know everything. So some people may watch this though and say they don't agree with it. And that's fine. That's one thing of the show. As I said earlier, I watched the Big Bang Theory television show. There were tons of stuff in there I didn't agree with as far as evolution and other things, but that didn't keep me from watching the show. It was a pretty good show. I liked it from a scientific standpoint. It was fun to watch. It was comedic.
Well, you take it for what it is. I mean, it's entertainment.
Yeah, it's entertainment first. The fact that I love the overtones that this show gives as far as the characters of the characters,
mm-hmm.
and the subtleties in which it puts out discipleship, or the way the testimonies are portrayed of the miracles. I love that about the show.
And also some of the not so subtleties. You know what I mean? Like Doubting Thomas. He's doubting on everything.
He's pretty much not believing he's even in existence right now. That was a little, honestly, for me, that was a little over the top. But I mean, if that's the character you want him to be, I mean, I know some physicists that believe the same thing Doubting Thomas does. So that way of thinking has not left society even to this day. So,
all right. So for this last segment, I'm going to go over final thoughts. So, what was your final thoughts?
For me, above all else, this struck me a little different. It was by far the most colorful episode so far. I felt like the color portrayal in this episode was above and beyond anything we'd seen.
What do you mean?
So, back in the day, dyes, they weren't in abundance the way they are today. Everything was either natural dyed, or if you were rich, you could get dyes.
Okay.
But they weren't in abundance. And so back in the day, because the only way to get them was from like minerals or animals or plants. Today we use synthetic dyes, but that technology didn't come around to like 1856 or so. And so that's the use of our colored clothing is actually a new thing. Like before, they would like boil sea creatures or whatever to get the dyeing material out of them. In this episode, you see a ton of dyes. The wedding ceremony is laid out with all kinds of colored dyes for the outfits. You kept your dyed clothes for special occasions or ceremonies. Obviously, the Pharisees dress in black, but outside of Roman soldiers, you don't really see a lot of color. It's grays and whites and browns. And I thought, to me, that stood out.
That's interesting that you point that out, because that I didn't pick up on that at all. Completely was like, pew.
things of certain natures like stand out to different people.
That's true.
And so, and that struck me though. You see the wide shot of all of them dancing, and everyone's in a different colored outfit.
That is true.
Through the colors, as we talked about before, like color mattered. There's a lot of things that mattered back then.
Yeah. Symbology.
Right. And so the rarer the thing was that you made that dye from, the more expensive that dye was. And that purple was one of the hardest dyes to make because it was one of the rarest items that you could get to make purple dye. And so purples and blues were generally based around royalty or someone of high stature because
they had the means
of the rarity of the dye.
Okay.
If it's a red or a yellow and orange, it's a pretty common dye.
Kind of like the bride wearing white type thing.
Colors matter. And I thought it was beautifully done. I thought the amount of color and the way, to me, that it's almost like they tried to emphasize color everywhere you looked.
That's pretty interesting. I think as far as I'm concerned, I think the episode was good. I liked it. I liked that we are incorporating John the Baptist into it. I like that he's getting into the scene because the Bible, he plays such a great part. So John the Baptist to me is definitely one of my favorites. Just it's fantastic. Like he was the front runner for Christ. He carved the path for him. Not to say that the path wouldn't have been there regardless, but it was kind of in the biblical standpoint, you really don't get one without the other.
Yeah, and again, this episode kind of leaves you on a cliff.
Yeah.
Where you see John the Baptist, but it's not where you thought you would be introduced to John the Baptist at.
Yeah.
And so maybe they flash back to what happened before he was imprisoned, but
right.
It's not really where you thought you would be picking up John the Baptist from reading the Bible. You read previous events before he's imprisoned.
Yeah, which we did see a little bit of the flashback. They did go back to 12-year-old Jesus in the temple.
That's correct.
I thought that was interesting. I liked it. He was like, "Gotta be about my Father's business." And his mom was like, "Don't run away from me."
Yeah. I'm your parent.
He's like, "Oh, sorry, parent, thanks."
Yeah, so that goes back to kind of what we was talking about earlier. So what would be, for this episode, what would be your grade?
I'm gonna say B.
A BYB.
YB. I liked the episode. There wasn't the way I look at grading is like a C is average. Man.
Okay.
So I think it was better than average. He did perform a miracle. It was biblically, from the biblical standpoint, it was his first miracle, and I thought that was cool. Would have liked to seen John the Baptist not behind bars.
Oh,
that's just my beef.
One creative difference drops you to a B. We're in for a long season.
Well, you're coming. I don't know. You're coming behind episode 4, which to me knocked me off my feet.
Yes.
So that's like probably in there somewhere.
So you're using episode 4 as a baseline.
That was fantastic. I loved it.
So for me, it was an A. Again, I'm not A+ or A-. It was just an A.
Okay.
I thought they did a really good continuation story from where they left off in the previous episode. Yeah. I think if they would have took 2 or 3 episodes before we saw another really impactful episode.
That's true.
I think that would have drugged me down a little bit because the first 2 episodes I understood from a plot standpoint, or you're trying to create this timeline. But once things start happening, like it's kind of has to continue to some degree. I don't think waiting another 2 to 3 episodes would have been a good thing for them to do.
Yeah.
So the fact that it happens relatively quick I appreciated that as a viewer.
Yeah, me too. You're 4 episodes in to the entire show, and he's already performed a miracle, and then in episode 5 he's already performed another miracle. So like, it didn't take them long to start developing characters and doing things.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of dead time in between the two. It's at the end of episode 4 and then in episode 5. So there's not a whole lot of, they didn't waste a lot of your time with plot building and this other. They just went it straight in to telling the next story. And I appreciated that as a viewer because I was a fan of Game of Thrones. And if you've ever watched that show, it's an entire season of plot building, world building, character building. And for one moment at the end of the season, and I hate that. Like, that kind of thing, it drives me nuts that you've done all of this and then ultimately you can be disappointed when that one moment comes.
Well, especially when the build-up is that long, the moment never matched the build-up.
Correct.
So
Correct.
I personally have never seen Game of Thrones, but
It's something. As a viewer, though, I'm kind of glad that they didn't spend that much time in between the two happening.
yeah, for sure. All right, guys, if you like what we're doing here, like, comment, subscribe. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't.
That's right. And we'll see you next week.
Appreciate you guys.